afternoon. My name is Adair. I'm the sales director here at FUJIFILM Microchannel. Before we get into today's presentation, look, a couple of quick admin things. The session is being recorded. So in the day or two after this session, we will be sending out a link to the recording as well as the slides that you see in today's session. I will go to the agenda, and obviously you'll see you're looking at three of us at the moment. Probably most of today is going to be spent in that second point there around going through a solution overview and a demonstration of Business Central, and that will be led by Nick. And then after that, Floyd will be taking us through the migration process of how we take customers from Navision or Dynamics NAV into Business Central. So most of the time is going to be spent with Nick and Floyd. To start, we've been doing this now for about 7 years in terms of upgrading sites from Dynamics NAV Division into Business Central, and just to discuss why organizations are doing that, why not only to the cloud, but to Business Central. So let's jump in. I will actually, before I do, there will be a Q&A section at the end, but you'll notice that there is a Q&A box in the Teams meeting. Please feel free to throw some questions in there. We might be able to answer it during it or at the end of it or after. So yeah, please feel free to do that. But just to start, there's a couple of, I guess, from a philosophical perspective, why a lot of our sites have already moved from on-premise to the cloud, but more and more it is becoming more compelling that that gets done to organizations. And there are two surveys that Microsoft did in 2023, which I like to highlight that because it's 1 to 2 years old, these particular stats. And the first was that 77% of business leaders acknowledged that economic volatility and changing consumer preferences are driving the need for more agile business operations, and 93 of those advocate for adopting a flexible and integrated ERP system, but only 39% have the confidence in that. So just from a flexibility, agility, functional perspective, there is an acknowledgement out there that on-premise systems, older systems, are not meeting those requirements. And then on the second side, and these are really underpinning where a lot of the benefits and a lot of the reasons why people are moving to Business Central. But that second sort of area is just around security, where in this particular statistic, 70% of organizations under 500 employees, so the typical SMB, small, medium business area, are susceptible to human-operated ransomware attacks, which are becoming more sophisticated and harder to detect. And being in the industry, I assure you, in the last 1 to 2 years, that sophistication and the harder to detect has grown from there. So I think those statistics at a high level really lead us into why, and I guess the reasons why organizations are moving to Business Central. And look, there are lots of reasons, and this is probably going to be the slide that we just spend the most amount of time on, but all of the reasons, we can put it into three major buckets. And the first one is around modernizing systems and increasing security. And there are a lot of benefits underneath that, and I'll just touch on these ones. First, just being on the latest technology, so latest functions, and also the latest security without costly updates. That, for many people, is a key reason. That provides that second point there, greater data protection and greater compliance. And more we are being asked, although we're not in an industry that, you don't need your ISO and SOC compliances, but many times our customers are asking us, do you have ISO compliance? Do you have SOC compliance? And because we use Business Central here at FUJIFILM Microchannel, we can say yes to that. So that's becoming more and more important to us and to our customers. Being able to share data and processes across Microsoft functions, so Excel, Outlook, Teams, and you will see in Nick's demonstration when we go through the solution, you will see that come to life by way of demonstration. Another area is a lot of our older dynamic sites have outdated customizations that may have been at one point in time useful, but markets change, customers change, businesses change, and those customizations are slowing growth and innovation in those businesses. So again, moving to the cloud to get to greater functionality. And even if you do customize in Business Central, there is more agility with the way those customizations are now done and administered. Then from a modern user interface perspective, so a lot of the feedback from our customers is that the modern interface, it's staying up with the way that all those Office tools look like and all the other Microsoft products look like. So there's an employee satisfaction aspect to that and lower training costs, particularly when you have new employees coming into your organization because they also use Microsoft. So the first major area is around that, just that modernization and what that means from the underlying benefits that that modernization enables. The second big area is just around productivity and business insights. With updated functionality, more functionality, more automation is just making people able to do more in less amount of time. And as you'll see in Nick's demonstration shortly, that AI-driven productivity is the area where Microsoft, Microchannel, and our customers are investing more and seeing more productivity. It really is the next level of that big breakthrough in productivity. Secondly, just being able to support greater growth through greater controls, be it more guided workflows, more ability to have approvals inside and throughout the whole Microsoft platform. So again, by able to use the whole Microsoft platform with Business Central at the core of it is allowing businesses to do more and to grow more. There has been, over the last particularly 3 years inside Business Central, a massive improvement in the built-in reporting capabilities. Some of those are AI enhanced, but many of them are not. But just enabling all the way from the receptionist to the CEO to be able to do their jobs better by finding data faster and seeing insights into the operation so they can do their job, get better customer satisfaction, better customer loyalty, whatever that might be. The productivity, it's been a theme through a number of these things, but greater productivity through that Outlook, Excel, Teams, Power BI, Power Automate. Microsoft has invested heavily in business and in business applications, and having Business Central where your business data is stored enables that full Microsoft suite of applications to be more productive to your organization. So, the more Microsoft in the organization, the better, particularly when your business data is inside Business Central. And another one that we do see is that being able to enable people to have all their data, all their processes remotely. And obviously with the last couple of years, this has been a big one, but empowering remote workforces so they don't have to come into the office to do a proposal or to provide support or whatever their job might be, enabling that. But all that really comes under, there's a lot there, but that really comes under productivity and business insights. And then the last one, which can be very IT infrastructure focused, is just reducing costs, simplifying IT, standardizing processes, and again, enabling business to grow more. So I guess some obvious things, or maybe obvious to me, but just elimination of on-premise server costs. Many times people find when they upgrade is when they have to update their on-premise server, right? And so that's like, hey, we don't need to do that anymore, never have to invest that in again. So eliminating the need for those costs, the upgrading of those server costs, the upgrading of software, obviously the big updates or the upgrades that we had to do when you've got an on-premise system, and also that annual maintenance gets taken away. So they're obviously key benefits of why people move to Business Central. Another massive one is just the elimination of those IT maintenance tasks. So you've got no downtime, but also no backups. You don't have to put the tape in the backups anymore. You don't have to patch things. You don't have to worry about security and data redundancy and things like that. So they're taken away. We're also finding, our customers are finding a reduction in the costs of third-party or complementary solutions because more is being done inside the Microsoft system, be it Business Central or on the platform. Now, a lot of our customers who have upgraded, they haven't needed to continue with that third-party reporting solution or third-party, whatever that might be, as part of their platform, their business process platform in their business. Also, because the tools that Business Central provides are easier to use and more standardized on the Microsoft platform, we're being told by our customers that IT is more easily able to support and do what they need to do from a functional perspective, even if there are customizations or integrations, and also just requiring less support because more is taken by Microsoft, which is, comes down to this last point here in that there is a big reduction in business risk when your system is guaranteed by Microsoft with performance SLAs. But again, having Microsoft at the table with your performance is another big benefit. So if we had to sort of summarize the majority of the benefits that our customers from older Dynamics products moving to Business Central find, it's usually somewhere in there, or that's probably about 90% of where they are. And those, and we use this term here, unparalleled benefits. Now, a big reason for those unparalleled benefits, not just because of the functionality inside Business Central, but because it sits inside the Microsoft integrated business platform that is your trusted business platform. And just to make sure people sort of understand what that is. So you'll see that business applications area. That's really what we're talking about in terms of the core Business Central functionality. But the way that it integrates with the other parts of the Microsoft ecosystem, like Teams and Outlook, and the way, and be that where your data is stored and how that's managed, and being able to visualize that with Power BI, and the security and innovation is all being provided by that underlying public cloud that Microsoft provides. And just to, I guess, highlight the key benefits of that underlying system is just having that single identity in that security system that works across all your applications and works across international borders if required. And then that last point there, just about scalability. With the telemetry that Microsoft gets from your systems and all the systems on their cloud, they're able to see slowness in performance even before you may see it, right? And then they can scale up the resources to keep that performance going. So again, Microsoft looks after that growth, that scalability, and being able to, flexibly change the underlying architecture of your organization really quickly based upon your demands and your market demands. So that was a lot of information there. And please note, we will be sending these slides out. So you'll have this there if you need to do business cases or whatever your internal processes are. But a lot of big benefits there why our customers, and more than 150 of them, have now moved from legacy Dynamics applications to Business Central. Just as a proof point of that, this just came out. It's a Forrester study. It actually came out last year, where Forrester interviewed a large number of Dynamics customers that moved to Business Central. And every one of those customers they surveyed, interviewed 4 people inside that organization. And the idea was they did 2 things. First, they created what they call a composite organization, where they said, okay, we've got all these organizations, we're going to put them together and make it just one organization and this organization had an annual revenue of 15 million, an employee count of 150. And what they tried to do, they tried to actually quantify the amount of benefit they got from going from an on-premise Dynamics system to Business Central. And I'm going to be showing you some of the figures from that study, or the figures that study came out with. Now, I'm not going to suggest in any situation that the figures that are in here are what you're going to get in your business. Every business is different and they'll get different figures, but it's just interesting that a study that they spent a fair bit of time with has comes up with figures like I'm about to show you. So the 4 big areas that they came from, and again, I'm not going to go through all of these in the following sort of presentations, but it's just to highlight. So they sort of bundled into 4 areas of improvement to staff productivity, avoiding third-party fees, avoiding costs of previous solution and support, and improving sales, efficiency and profitability. And they have this 3-year risk-adjusted benefits to moving to the cloud. So they've got their own modeling. And again, you'll have these slides. We'll send this to you after this presentation, but just to see here, okay, so this particular organization of 15 million and that sort of size, they were able to achieve 25 hours per month in saving, and 20 hours per month for operational users, and 25 hours for those finance users, with a significant financial impact there. Around those third-party fees, again, a big financial impact, and 5,000 per month avoided for external report preparation. Avoiding costs of previous solutions, again, big financial impact, and having a look at the hours per month that they avoided, and from an IT perspective was quite significant. And that's sales efficiency, 15% productivity improvements for sales reps, and increasing deals and things like that. But in that particular organization, or that composite organization, they obviously got a very large return on investment. Again, it's one example. Everyone will have their own reasons and their own benefits, and those benefits and value will drive these sorts of ROI and net present value. But I think it's just worthwhile to see that after a big study, those sorts of achievements are there. And look, maybe these are the sorts of results that you might see in your organization. But I hope that was a lot of information, but I hope that was helpful just from our experience and also from this particular study where those benefits from Business Central are coming from people's migrations to the cloud. But to drill down a little bit more, I'm going to pass over to Nick, our solution architect in D365, to give you a solution overview and then drill down with a bit of a demonstration. Nick, please jump in.
Yes, hello, and thank you very much, Adair. Hello, everybody. It's lovely to have you all on the call today. So, as Adair said, what I'm going to do is take us through Dynamics 365 Business Central and just some of those benefits that can help you realize potentially what we've been discussing already. So, just as a bit of a quick overview, what is Dynamics 365 Business Central? So, if you're familiar with Dynamics NAV or Navision, you're probably familiar with a lot of the modules in here. It's a system that allows you to connect finance, sales, service, and operations teams with a comprehensive business management solution. And then also we can harness the power of AI and Copilot inside the solution. So you'll be familiar probably with the core areas that exist: financial management, sales, supply chain, service, manufacturing, and project management. That's relatively stayed the same, but we've seen the system grow every single time there's a new update with new features and new functionalities. Just some statistics from Microsoft there. So Business Central is now used by over 45,000 businesses in the world, which is huge. Pretty impressive since 2018. And there are over 5,400 apps on AppSource, which is like the app store for Dynamics 365 Business Central. Last year, it was named the best ERP system in 2024 by Forbes Advisor overall, but also took the chockies across all of the other categories like retail, manufacturing, etc. The first thing I wanted to address was updates. One of the things that got people stuck on older versions of Dynamics NAV or Navision was the fact that an upgrade project sometimes just wasn't worth the investment. It took a lot of time and it took a lot of money sometimes to be able to go through that process, knowing that you'd probably have to do it again later down the track when a newer version came out. So Microsoft went back to the drawing board and have reinvented how that process happens. Now inside Business Central, this is what our update process looks like. A month before the update is released, we have a preview. You'll be notified and you'll be able to copy your production environment down to a sandbox or a test environment and preview that new features on your data and have a look at how it works. So you've got a month to do that. Then when the release comes out, we have 5 months to make that decision, to make sure that every team that uses the system has spent a little bit of time testing their key processes and that everything's ready to go before we go and schedule that. It's not a big project. It's something where your IT department or a manager can go into the system from the back end, schedule an update, and then watch that happen over a weekend or whichever downtime you've chosen. After those 5 months, we then have a grace period where you still can go and do that, but you're kind of being nudged a bit more by Microsoft. And then after that, it does become enforced. So then you are updated to the newest version of Business Central. And that will basically allow you to then roll into the next version when that comes out. So a major update contains new features, enhancements, and platform improvements. So it's really an all-up update that brings through usability and great new modules and features that we'll talk about shortly. We also have minor updates. So minor updates happen every month except the first month of the major update. So you'll see that I've got that little gap at the start of the major update. A minor update has things like critical improvements and regulatory updates. That's which is Microsoft speak for bug fixes or hot fixes, and then regulatory changes in the system. So how does that look in the scheme of things? So essentially we have 2 release waves per year that follow that structure. The first one starts in March, but goes live with the main update in April, and the second one September and October. And all the while we have those minor updates coming through as we go through those waves. What are some of the new things that have come out in the updates over the last couple of years? Well, we've got a nice shiny new subscription and recurring billing module. We've got sustainability and ESG reporting and tracking, statistical accounting, a Shopify integration for both B2B and B2C that synchronizes everything that's required for e-commerce. We've got some great new Power BI apps. We've got analysis views that I'm going to be covering shortly that gives you access to your data in the system. Integration with other Dynamics 365 apps, for example, Dynamics 365 Sales and Dynamics 365's field service. And then we've got Copilot and AI agents. And of course, it would be remiss of me not to mention them, given the push that we have from Microsoft at the moment into this world of AI. So how does it work? We've got three contexts. We've got a human with an assistant. That's what you'd use to with ChatGPT or Claude or any of the other AI agents that are out there or AI chatbots that are out there. The human with assistant means you've got somebody, an AI somebody that's sitting on your screen that you can ask questions and you can give direction to help you work faster and get your job done quicker so that you can focus on more important things. We've got quite a few of them in Business Central we'll talk about. Then we've got these agents. The next two, the middle and on the right-hand side, this is where we've got a human agent team. So that's where we've got an agent, this AI agent, that is our digital colleague. We're giving them specific direction and telling them what to do, and they're going and doing it. Then we have, just similar to that, human-led agent operated. That's when we give the direction to the agents, they go and do the job, and they only check in if they really need to or if there's anything that needs to be clarified. So what are some examples of that? So with the human with assistant, Business Central was really ahead of the pack when it came to implementing this kind of technology into the ERP system. So you'll see there in the list, there's things like chat. So there's a Copilot chat inside Business Central where you can ask questions, you can ask about information about data, and it'll give you those answers, just like if you're asking ChatGPT, but this is secure and it's only working on your data inside your system. Then we've got things like sales line suggestions. That's where if a customer has sent us an email with a text-based list of what they want, we can copy and paste that into a sales order and it'll use AI to find that information and generate it. Likewise, if they send us a PDF or an Excel file, we could do that. There's a few others there around document matching. Bank account reconciliation is a bit of a game changer in terms of saving time. Analyzing data we're going to look at. Summarize pages and autofill. That's really about when you're on a screen, saving time getting data in, saving time having to look through the data that's in the system. And then of course, marketing text suggestions. That was the first one that came out. And that's what creates nice little marketing text, paragraphs, bylines, etc. for your products if you were going to bring that into something like Shopify. Then with the agents, we've got at the moment sales order agent and more recently payables agent. And these are agents that can span across these level 2 or 3. We could either make it stop and give direction every step of the way, or we could allow them to be autonomous and only check in as that comes up. These are great examples that Microsoft have built, and I'm going to show them to you very shortly, but also it allows us to create custom agents. So we could, whatever you could think of, if there's a good business case behind it, we'll be able to work with you and help you find applications for these agents to help you do that work that you don't necessarily need a person to do. So I'm going to take us through a bit of a demonstration of the product now. And here we are. Here's Dynamics 365 Business Central. So what we're going to do is we're just going to have a look at the look and feel very quickly. This is called the Role Center. And this is the first thing you see when you log into Business Central. It tells you what company you're logged into. It gives you some basic information related to the role that you have. So here I'm seeing things like overdue sales invoices amount, overdue purchase invoices, etc. I've got this cool one which has 0 for me, but sales invoice predicted overdue, that's looking at your customer sales history and payment history, and then starting to predict trends in whether these customers are going to be the payments are going to be late or not. So you can start attacking those things before they actually become an issue. But what I've also got on the left-hand side is my Power BI. So this is where if you've got a Power BI Pro license, you can take advantage of all of the reports and dashboards that Microsoft have built inside Power BI. So this is a bit of an example one, and it's a bit general. So I made sure because we've got people from all different walks of life on the phone, different types of industries. Let's have a look at the finance one. So we were looking at the finance overview, which basically has some of these key metrics, asset turnover, etc. On the screen. We could tailor these a little bit, tweak how they're calculated, but then as you see, if we go through, we've got things like liquidity KPIs, profitability reporting, liabilities reporting, EBITDA, etc. And all of these we can drill into and look at the information sitting behind that. There's our aged AR backdating report. So this is the finance one. There's also sales and purchases, inventory valuation, manufacturing, projects, sustainability, and subscription management. So in each of those apps, there's heaps of reports available to you to start using straight away. They plug into Business Central, they start pulling your data instantly. While we're at it, up the top here, I've got my two agents. So I've got my sales order agent there represented by SO, and I've got my PA payables agent. So we've got some little numbers against them. So it's letting us know that we've got some work to do, or the agent got some work to do. So let's just hover over first of all. When I hover over this in my agent, you'll see I've received 37 emails. And from that, I've created 11 quotes and 2 orders. It saved me 3 hours of work on email work and an hour and a bit on creating quotes. And I've processed $4,389. Likewise on the purchase, my payables agent, not as many because it's relatively new, but I've also received quite a few emails and created some invoices based on that. Let's have a look at these. So if I click on that, if it's my job to look at this, you'll see I've got a review incoming. So this is an email from one of our customers, and they're saying, you have great coffee machines. So this company is a coffee machine company. Can you let me know what's available? Okay, great. Yep, I'm happy with that. So now what it's going to do is it's going to go and use that AI to look through Business Central to see what we have in our inventory, to see what's available and what's not available, specifically for this customer, if they have pricing, etc. And then it's going to prepare a reply email based on that, where it can tell them exactly what they need to know, so then they can start interacting and working with us on this. So I'll give it a couple more seconds to go and do that. In the meantime, let's go and have a look at the payables agent. So what we've got now is we've got an invoice that's come in from one of our suppliers. Purchase invoice needs to be created for the newly received inbound e-document. So let's have a look at that. Okay, please find attached invoice 768 for payment. All right, that's okay. Let's have a look at that. So now what it's going to do, the PDF that the vendor has sent us is going to be read by AI, and the agent's going to make accounting decisions of how that should be posted into the system. Switching our hats back to sales order. Here we go. We've got our email back and ready to go. So let's have a look what it's suggesting we say. Thank you for your inquiry. Please find below available and alternative options. Okay, so we've got 1 coffee machine available, the auto drip, and we've got 4 that are currently out of stock. So great, I'm happy with this email. Let's send that off. So now that's going to send that email off to the customer so that they can make their decision on what they need to do next. Pretty nice little feature, but we'll see how that goes once we get some replies from that customer going forward. All right, in the meantime, let's look at the payables side again. So now it's created what's called a purchase document draft, and that document has the PDF here. So let's have a look at that. So we've got our PDF from our supplier. We've been buying some office supplies. We've bought a SIM card, we've got a chair, those kind of things. All the other information is all good down through there. So let's see what it's done. Okay, it's created these lines with the text, and it's guessed some GL accounts based on the information on that line. So here we've got 8210, which is my office supplies account. So that's how it's matched through there. The one's different. 8230. Okay, that's phone and fax. So that makes sense because that's our phone SIM card. The other thing, let's see if it's done it. Yes, on the other side here for that SIM card, it's actually set it up as a 12-month subscription. So here you'll see it's added a deferral code for my 12-month deferral across there. So very nice. It's actually gone and set up those accounting decisions. I'm pretty happy with that. So from here, I could just go and say, yep, finalize that draft. Actually, I should say confirm through here. And now what that's going to do is it's going to go and create an actual purchase invoice that we can then submit for approval if we need to, or that we can then post so we can take that through to the next step of payment. So a really nice process there with that invoice. Just to finish it off, let's have a look at the sales order agent. So it looks like we've received a reply from the customer. Request 5 airpot coffee machines and agrees to wait for their availability. Okay, good. Okay, yes, happy to wait. So now what it's going to do is it's going to hopefully create a quote for us. It's going to look at that prices for the customer. It's going to look at the inventory we've got, and then it's going to go and prepare a quote and an email that we can send to the customer based on that. So while it's doing that, let's look at a couple of other things. One of the things that I mentioned in our discussion earlier was analysis views. and actually Copilot Chat. So Copilot Chat is great. This is where you can come in here and say things like, what do we want to do? Depreciate fixed assets. And what that's going to do is it's going to look at the Microsoft documentation. It's going to look at what you've got inside Business Central and how you should do it. And then it's going to go and prepare either a little statement or a step-by-step on how we can actually go and do that. Here we go. Great. So to do that, we need to open fixed assets, select the asset, look at the depreciation book, etc., and then go and calculate depreciation. And all the while, there's a link to the actual documents. So that's really handy. There's another one. The other thing you can do here is you can just ask about data. Summarize my invoices by customer and due date. So that's now going to go and decide, okay, customer must mean customer ledger entries, due date, that's obviously due date in there. So we need to have a look at invoices by customer and due date. It's finding that information, and then it's going to go and hopefully prepare me a view. Great. You can see a summary of your posted sales invoices by cell to customer number and due date with the total amount group calculated for each group. So let's have a look at what that's created for us. It's created what's called an analysis tab. And that analysis tab is actually going to give us this ad hoc reporting view that we have inside Business Central. So here we go. We've got these all this way, but the date's down the bottom. So maybe I want to put the dates across the top. By year, or by month. Let's do by month. So I can keep on using my text to refine the report. But obviously, there we go. That's much nicer. So now I can see that by month across the top. And I can open it up and drill into them and see what they are. But I can also play with it. I don't really need customer number. So let's get rid of that. So customer name is on top. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with this report. So now that I've got this here, I can share that with my colleagues, and I've used AI to generate it, and then I've done my own little finessing myself. And this is across all data inside Business Central. So whether it's customer ledger entries, general ledger entries, etc., any of the sub ledgers inside BC, but also just anywhere there's a list of data, we can go and bring this information up and create as many as we want tabs that bring data from the table we're looking at, but also allow us to join data from other tables as well. It's really, really nice. All right, let's go to the last step in the sales order agent. Well, it's not the last step, but I'll stop here. All right, please review the sales quote for 5 units. The item's currently out of stock and the customer is aware and willing to wait. Okay, great. So the agent is telling me what we need to do. Here's the quote that's been prepared based on the dates that we've got in the system. Okay, that's great, but let's add some instructions. Let's say, let the customer, this is our best-selling product. We'll do our best to get it back. All right, ASAP. So now what that's going to do is it's going to take what the agent was going to say, it's going to bring what I was going to say together, and it's going to create a reply email with that attached PDF so it can send it back to the customer for them to accept. Now remember, I've done this so it's stopped every step of the way. We could set this up to be totally autonomous, or even just to stop at certain steps along the way where we want to be able to review things before they're actually gone out to the customer. So you've got full control as to how much you want to be able to allow this to happen. All right, we'll just, here we go. It's already done the email, so let's have a look at it. All right, thank you for your request. 5 units, please find below the details. There's the quote. AirPod is currently out of stock. It's a best-selling product, and we will do our best to get it back in stock as soon as possible. So even though I typed things wrong, that's a couple of typos there, and I said ASAP and stuff like that, it's made it more formal and it's made it more professional there. So I'm happy with that. Let's send it off, and that's going to send that off to the customer and wait for a reply. And that'll continue back and forwards until we get to the point where we need to basically deliver the goods to the customer. So that's the agents. Some of you, it'll be something that's immediately relevant. Some of you, it'll be, hopefully it shows you where this system is going in terms of that intelligence. Just very quickly, I wanted to take you through 2 more things. One of them is Outlook. Hopefully you've heard of it. I'm not trying to sell you Outlook. What we've got here is an email that's been received from a customer. And because I have a Business Central license, and that is the same customer that's linked to this account, we now have this Business Central Contact Insights. Here I've got an interactive pane that looks at data relative to that customer. So here I can see the current balance. I can see the outstanding invoices and orders for this customer. I can drill into them and look at them as much as I need to find out anything I can about the email or the communications I've got. However, what I could also do, if they reference a sales order number or a sales invoice or purchase, etc., this could be your colleagues as well, I could click on that and that's going to find that order in the system and it's going to bring it up. So you don't need to copy and paste the number or remember it. You can just go bring it up here, service fees. There's a pop-out button to make it into a bigger window if you want to, but they're just asking for a copy. So let's look at the menu. This is the same menu we have inside BC. We'll go email confirmation. So that's going to create a reply email. It's going to create a PDF, attach it, and it's ready to send off back to Megan without me having to even open BC in the background. So it's here on my screen, ready to go. I think that's a really nice little integration. It works the same on the vendor side for those who deal more with procurement and purchasing. Then here, same information. We can drill into that. We've got the aged accounts payable, access to all of the pending shipments, orders, etc. And they've sent us some attachments that we need to store. So I could go attachments, attach a file, attach from email. So then I could just pull those PDFs and then just push them back up into Business Central against that vendor record, so it's there stored. The last thing I very briefly wanted to show was with Teams, because we all love and hate Teams, depending on who we are. But let's just go to Fabricam. We've had an issue with Fabricam where we're getting a lot of returns. And so we're having to return a lot of information. So we need somebody to start dealing with that. So I can look through the details of the vendor record, but really what I want to do is I want to get someone on my team to have a call with them to talk about quality issues. So let's go. First thing it's going to do is bring up the card here. So it's going to show us what we're going to be posting, which is the vendor. And then we're going to post it into the AP Warriors team that I've got here. I'm going to go to Georgia about quality. All right, and let's post that. So now when we go into Teams, straight away, we've got this post here. And so Georgia's going to be able to log in. She'll get a notification, and then she'll be able to click this details button, and that will open up the vendor inside Teams. So then Georgia can make the call. She can look at the history of the vendor. She can look at, the returns that we've processed, the invoices we've had, any notes that are against the record, and just go straight from there. So it's very, very handy. If someone's got a license, they'll be able to get in there and look at it. The other thing we can do is we can just embed things that are common across the team into Teams. So here I've got a tab called Open PIs in my Teams general channel. And this is a list of all of my open purchase orders that I can just start looking at, working on, doing whatever I need to do. Likewise, I've got one here called Payment Journal. And this one is just my standing payment journal that we're going to process at the end of the week. So everyone in the AP team has access to come in here and add or remove before that gets to that point. So I think the Teams integration, it's really designed for making it easy for you and your team to work through this collaboration when you're working with the business. And the data, as you can see, it's in Outlook, it's in Teams, it's also in Excel and other places as well, but it's where it makes sense, not necessarily where you have to go and find it. So having said that, I have one more slide to go that I wanted to talk about, and that's the key benefits, yeah. So as you can see, hopefully, Business Central has a modern and clean user interface. It's integrated really well with Microsoft 365 apps like we saw. There's AI assistants and agents that are designed to augment your work and save you time so that you can focus on the things that are most important to you. Analyze your data where it makes sense, where it is right there. And it's a modern, always up-to-date cloud-based system. So you're not lagging behind in technology, regulatory, or security. And of course, we talked about the Power BI dashboards. They're available out of the box if you have a Power BI Pro license. So that's the end of my section. I just wanted to hand over to my colleague Floyd just to talk about how we can get to Business Central through there. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick, and good afternoon, everyone. And I appreciate everybody coming to the session today. I wanted to just cover off a couple things around just the upgrade process to Business Central. But what Nick touched on earlier was pretty amazing in terms of just the several capabilities within BC, including AI, co-pilots, agents, and much more. Seeing the agents in action is truly amazing, and this is just a small sample of the numerous capabilities that are available within Business Central. There are a number of new capabilities that are being added on a regular basis, and this is ultimately constantly being enhanced by Microsoft. So as you will see on our YouTube channel and also through various webinars, we will continue to bring those capabilities to you and showcase what is available and new within Business Central. So just touching on the Navision, the BC timeline. When it comes to the different versions that have been released, there is a modern lifecycle policy, which Nick had touched on, and that ultimately covers off just what is available from BC, what timelines you have to focus on in terms of just upgrading the Business Central Online environments. And there's plenty of tools available to make that process very seamless when you talk about Business Central Online. When it comes to Navision and Dynamics NAV, as you can see on here, there's a number of versions that have been released over time. With Navision version 2016 on through 2018 and BC 14, those are currently in the Microsoft Fixed Lifecycle Policy. Now, there were other versions as well previous to this that also fell within the Fixed Lifecycle Policy, but they've since bypassed that policy and fallen out of that total policy. The mainstream lifecycle policy for mainstream support covers off everything from new feature updates, security updates, and non-security hotfixes. There's regulatory and compliance updates that were available, and you had the ability to raise support cases to Microsoft for those versions of Navision. Now, once they're in that mainstream lifecycle policy, you will get regular updates. But once it goes after that mainstream support, it goes into what's called the extended support. Now, as part of this final phase of the fixed lifecycle policy, your support is limited just to security updates only. Microsoft will not release any new features or non-security fixes. This is important just to understand because ultimately that means the only things that you will see for updates when you're in extended support, which is where every version that still is within the fixed policy that you see on the slide here, means that you will only get major security updates only. Now, the reason why this can be important is because when you're considering about your move to Business Central Online, now is really the time to talk about Business Central with your account manager or with our team here at FUJIFILM Microchannel. Because the key things that you'll need to look at are around security vulnerabilities. So once your Navision version is outside of the mainstream support or extended support, it will ultimately not have any future security updates, which means that it leaves known vulnerabilities unpatched on your ERP system. If your ERP system is set up and exposed to the outside world for connections to other systems, that could leave it vulnerable to malware, data breaches, or other things that could be out in the world. Cybersecurity is front and center with many businesses in terms of just making sure that not only their systems are modernized, but also making sure that legacy systems do not become a target for hackers. The second area just to be aware of is around software performance. So when we talk about stability of Navision, supporting the infrastructure that houses the Navision environment is still getting updated. Your database is still growing. There's additional data and things being put into the environment, which ultimately plays an impact with the performance of the system. So when you're within that extended support, you still are able to cover with critical patches to NAV, but as your infrastructure is updated, it may not necessarily cater for those changes that are happening with your server or your database that's being updated as well. So that leaves you really to manage that very closely in-house to ensure that that's taken care of or working with Microchannel. There are no new features that are ultimately introduced with Navision as well, which is another area that you have to take into account. So all these wonderful features that Nick and Adair were talking about with Business Central Online looking at your Navision environment, you may not necessarily have the ability to seamlessly integrate to things such as Microsoft 365 when you're looking at Outlook, Teams, and all those other wonderful capabilities that are available with the ERP. And also AI is not readily available in Navision. And then last but not least, compliance concerns. That's a discussion point that comes up with a lot of companies that we're talking about almost on a weekly basis. Now, when it comes to your software, when it's in mainstream support, there were regulatory standards that were updated, such as financial reporting, tax compliance, and much more. Once it went into extended support, or once it's out of that fixed lifecycle policy, those regulatory updates are no longer being added to the system, which means that you're either working to put that in through, customizing and getting it into the system, or ensuring that whatever those changes are, you have to tweak those and ensure that they're meeting the regulatory compliance. When you move to Business Central Online, every region or country where Business Central is made available, you have the ability to ensure that Microsoft pretty much commit to ensure that those regulatory compliances are maintained. So when we talk about moving to Business Central Online, there are three different approaches that you can take in terms of moving to BC Online. There's the full upgrade process, which means that you take everything that's in your current Navision version and we're bringing that across to Business Central Online. The benefit here is that everything that you have in that existing setup in Navision or NAV gets taken across to BC. Users have that familiarity with what's already there, and they can make use of BC, and it still has a similar feel in terms of how they navigate through various parts of the system. There are existing tools available that allow us to perform that full upgrade to BC Online. In some cases, it may be done in a couple steps or multiple steps, depending on what version of NAV you're coming from. The benefit is, no matter what version you're moving from, we have the tools available to be able to step you through to that upgrade to the final step of moving to BC Online. Now, the second option is data only, which means that we're taking, in essence, an out-of-the-box deployment of Business Central Online, and then we're taking and bringing across your data only to that environment. So it gives you the ability to have your historical data available. And then what you ultimately do is look at what are those core critical customizations to the business that you may say you need and have to take across to BC Online, and you're just taking across those customizations only. The benefit here is that does actually give you the option if you're looking at driving a quicker implementation timeline and you're only keeping those necessary enhancements to bring across to BC. We do have a number of clients that have taken that approach, and it works out very well. Users adopt the system relatively quickly and are able to use Business Central much quicker. The final step is a re-implementation phase, which is also a very popular approach because it allows you to really take a fresh look into your system and take pretty much the data that you may have had in Navision and cleanse that data. It gives you an option to take a fresh approach, see how Business Central works out of the box, and then really just reorient how you do things as a business to adopt the standard out of the box way of doing things in Business Central to achieve whatever those results may be within the business. So you do have these three options available. They are all considered when businesses are looking to move across the BC, and the benefit is, whichever one is the best option for you, you have that available to work with us to take you to that last version. So on this last step here, I'll hand it over to Adair to talk about the next steps.
Yeah, thank you, Floyd, and thank you, Nick. Look, we have obviously gone through a lot of information. It's fair to say we're very experienced at doing this and would love to bring you on the journey, but because of all this information, we obviously hope a lot of it was relevant and you're able to apply it into your organization. But no, we would love the opportunity really to understand your requirements. So in terms of the next step, look, please contact us. I'll put my contact details and Floyd's contact details at the end of this. But also, you probably know your account manager. I'll put those details on as well. So please contact someone at Microchannel, whoever the most relevant person is, so we can organize that half an hour just to really filter all the information that we've been through today for you. And from that, we can go through implementation methodologies, go through what it will look like for your organization, as well as drilling down on those benefits that Business Central will give for you. So be able to, instead of this, that demonstration that Nick did, but doing that with your requirements in mind and addressing the areas in your business. So we're happy to do that tailored demonstration of Business Central. Once we go through that process, we can then just confirm exactly the scope and the requirements of your upgrade. what functionality we're bringing across, what customizations we are or we aren't, what's the approach we're going to take. And that will enable us to just confirm exactly what our estimate of work is. And really for both sides, there's obviously these projects, they require a good partnership and working on both sides. And then at the end of the day, statement of work and start the project. But I like that little that quote from one of our customers on the left. Just do it. Upgrading Business Central was seamless in comparison to upgrading your on-premise NAV system, which was more complex and time-consuming. So please take the step. But we have a very guided and controlled process that enables you to do this. But just here you'll see the account managers. So if you know one of these people, please reach out to them.